Okay, that's great. Thank you for joining this session, and I've just pressed record, so we should be able to go live now. Now, with regards to today's discussion, we're going to be discussing the assignment brief for this particular unit, which is digital marketing management for tourism and hospitality management. This is quite an interesting unit, which normally I teach, and because of duplication of timing in some of the sessions, I wasn't able to take this up, and I had asked my colleague to run through this particular unit. This is a very interesting unit from a point of view of not just your course, but also in general, because we get to see now marketing being applied in its digital format, and we are in touch with it on a daily basis. Whether you use a smartphone, you use a Mac, PC, tablet, we are not far away from the effects of witnessing what marketing is, how marketing is being currently done on the digital media. So things like your phone, billboards, you look at internet, and you look at any other digital form of mediums that we interact with. When you go to train stations or when you're at the airport, you see a lot of displays. And when you browse websites or when you go on to, say, for example, message boards or internet forums, you're able to see advertising or some sort of messaging coming across to us in one form or the other. It could be banners, it could be messages in the form of text messages coming through, or in general reviews that we do. Sometimes when we visit a hotel, you go on a holiday and you leave a review for the hotel or how the service was. They are all a part and parcel of what we call digital marketing. Now, one of the things that we are going to look at in this particular unit for the assignment discussion is the OTHM has essentially provided an assignment brief, which has broken down the assignment brief into 4 parts. And the reason of breaking down the assignment questions into 4 parts is primarily because the way we studied this unit, one, we looked at understanding what are digital marketing principles. Then we went into the role and functions of digital media marketing and what people or digital marketers essentially do in terms of carrying out some of these activities. Then we looked at how we can apply this to the tourism and hospitality sector. And then last but not the least, it is asking us to basically, be able to, that means the knowledge descriptor is asking us to do it practically. So if you see some of the knowledge descriptors on unit learning outcome 1, 2, and 3 are know about or understand. That means they are theoretical. You're going to be more or less, writing the assignment or the essay report here for task 1, 2, and 3, referring to learning outcome 1, 2, and 3. But they would be theoretical. You're going to cover frameworks. You're going to come up with definitions, key concepts that you've gone through and studied in these learning outcomes. But for learning outcome 4, it is going to ask you to conduct. That means be able to. That means you're going to have to do it practically to be able to, complete some of the tasks which are given in task 4 corresponding to the learning outcome 4 criteria. Now, here, what we are looking at in general is 4 tasks which are laid out as assignment, tasks, and most of them tend to be in the form of an essay format. That means you'll need to be writing or compiling evidence in the form of a Word document. And we'll go through all of them in a bit more detail to look at how this assignment at some stage would look like, and what would be the output that you would generally produce from a point of view of the Word document. So let's look at going into some of the discussions with regards to what is required, to attempt this particular assignment. So what I've done is, some of the tasks given in the assignment brief, here I've converted that into a presentation. And what I would want to do is basically discuss some of the basic bits on how to do the assignment and how to collate the evidence together for this unit. And then we'll be going into details of specifically addressing how you would go about doing the tasks and what evidence you would compile, or how would you provide that evidence in the form of a Word document or an essay format to be able to achieve this unit. So the first task is looking at about 500 words. The submission format is a Word document. Obviously, whenever word count is given, word count does not include table of contents, references, or any appendices that you normally attach in terms of evidence for the report. So this will be 500 words. Task 2 is going to be again a Word document, and that's about 750 words. So here between task 1 and 2, you're looking at 1250 words. If I go to task 3, again a Word format, and it's about 750 words. So this makes it, 1500 plus 500, 2000 words. And then when we go to task 4, this is going to ask you to write about 1000 words, and again in a Word format. So there is no PowerPoint presentation to be produced in the assignment. The overall assignment document will remain a Word document, and each of the parts of the assignment, task 1, 2, 3, 4, if we combine it all together, you're probably looking at approximately 3000 words, plus minus, I would say plus 10%. So between 3000 to 3500 words as an assignment to be completed, for achieving this particular unit. So let me switch you over to the PowerPoint presentation, and this presentation would be available to you on Moodle after this session. So we're looking at, primarily looking at covering some of the details of the unit and some basic tips that I would like to share. I don't know whether they have been shared before, but some basic tips which I'd like to share when you start doing an assignment would be to look at, presenting an assignment with a bit of a document, because it's a document, so you structure it, you format it, and it should be professionally presented. So these are basic guidelines that I would suggest you to do, is to look at a best practice, which is to write an introduction and write, a conclusion. The introduction and conclusion tend to define and provide, some sort of a sanctity in terms of what you have understood from the unit and what are you going to be looking at providing as, evidence in your Word document, and that will lay down a bit of a foundation for the tutor to basically look at your assignment in that light. So maybe a font size 12 font, whichever font is convenient, but generally for assignment and university purposes, we look at recommending Arial/Calibri font, and that generally should be font size 12. You're looking at a line spacing of about 1.5 lines, so that it's clearly legible and obviously it's presentable. So what we would then expect is that when you produce this document, you're looking at approximately 3,500 words, and these 3,500 words, would essentially be referenced from a point of view of, Harvard referencing, and that Harvard referencing that you're going to be doing is primarily going to be, following the author date style format. In some cases, if you're not referencing or you're basically paraphrasing, then you are going to be able to provide us what is called a bibliography, which is list of sources that you're going to use for the purposes of, showing that this is the factual and accurate data that you've taken from these sources, and that would essentially be, helping you, submit a professional document, which is providing, I would say, let's say, providing, credence to what work has been produced, and that would be backed up by either a list of references or bibliography. Now, for most, OTHM assignments, there is a declaration sheet that you also need to fill, and this declaration sheet is normally available on Moodle in the Word format, and I put it up here just as a screenshot. So what you need to be able to do is fill this sheet up, and this sheet is a declaration sheet from your end, which basically says all the work that I'm producing is mine, and I'm referencing in wherever places I've taken work from books, articles, journals, and the work that I've provided is not being produced by somebody else, but by myself. And that is a declaration that we generally lead, which is called the Student Assessment Submission and Declaration Form. And you would fill your names in detail in, and I've just put a screenshot of, what the declaration bits, look like. So this is an administrative part, which you would need to keep in mind when you look at, essentially, let's say, submit the assignment in for the purposes of marking. Now, if you need to refresh Harvard referencing, or you need to go through some bits of what is Harvard referencing, there is a presentation up on Moodle. And I would suggest and encourage that presentation you can go through to revise if this is the first assignment that you're going to be submitting, and that would help you ensure that you're following the guidelines in terms of referencing your work, and that would basically reduce any sort of back and forth which needs to be done or would require to be done in case when you submit the work in. There's a video as well which is on the YouTube channel, and that should be just a bit of viewing, and you can use site generators which are basically obviously going to be reference size generators, but as long as the referencing is there and the referencing is following this format, that should be I would say good enough to meet the requirement for the submission of the assignment. Now, as always, as you know, if you submit in the assignment and we do feel that there are areas in which there is issues regarding sufficiency, then what we will do is normally give you some comments, and these comments would essentially allow you to address the shortfall areas. When you address these comments and shortfall areas, what you're then looking at doing is primarily highlighting that content that you've added as per the comments which have been given in what is called yellow, and that makes it easier for us to reassess your work and turn it around quite quickly. So from my point of view, these are basic guidelines that I would expect you to follow through when you're looking at submitting your assignment, because they would be useful in making a confident submission, and you'd be confident that whatever I'm submitting is actually meeting the criteria, and it's meeting the criteria first time, and thereby allowing you to achieve the work and reduce any back and forth if required, for the purposes of making any amends. Now, last but not the least, what I would basically suggest is, even if you are going to say write most of the work by reading different sources, then what I would suggest is at least provide us this list of sources from which this work has been taken, so that it is clear that the work is referenced as far as requirements from an assignment point of view are concerned. So the reason is because for any assignments to pass, you need to at least have 6 academic references quoted in the assignment brief, and that is what would be, I would suggest, required to meet this criteria. Now, although the assignment has been given in various tasks, so as you can see, there is task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4. This is what I've taken from the assignment brief document. But generally, what I would suggest here would be that when you submit your assignment in, you should submit just, I would say, one document, but I will show you how to submit that in 4 parts. So what we're going to do is insert a page, and that page, when it's inserted, allows us to submit, assignments in a way wherein it will be clearly labeled as task 1, and that way it will clearly highlight that this is the 4 parts of the document that are being submitted as one assignment, and labeling clearly would allow us to differentiate whether this is so identify essentially what task it is, and in terms of assessment wise, it will become a bit easier. So let me just now, obviously from this point of view, shift you over to a Word document, and we will keep switching between the presentation and the Word document in order to finalize the assignment. And I would want to show it in terms of how this would need to be done, so that you are able to follow through and then clearly understand how you'll go about, obviously submitting the assignment. Is that okay? Any questions on this so far?
No.
All right. I know that, so is it Akrushia or is it Tolani? How do your friends call you? What is the best name to call you or address you?
Tulani.
Tulani, okay. So I know, Tulani, that you've done your level 4 earlier and you're well versed with this, but some part of what I'm discussing today might be a bit repetitive. but just bear with me on that so that you're able to probably follow through on what we are discussing with regards to the assignment. So let me just shift you now to the Word document, and I would go through exactly in terms of how, if I was in your shoes, in Nicole's or Tolani's shoes, how would I go about actually doing the assignment. So let me just shift you over to that. So what you see on my side is actual version of the assignment that I normally end up doing before I ask you to submit the work, so that students have the opportunity to be able to see what an assignment would look like, how it needs to be done, how detailed that needs to be, when you need to look at command verbs, and you need to then look at ensuring that the assignment submitted is primarily meeting all the criteria. So in some cases, what I normally do is, as you can see, if I have created an assignment, I'm going to basically go in and do a spell check. And this spell check would ensure that I'm kind of proofreading my own work. And proofreading of my own work essentially allows me to, ensure that the work I'm submitting is, checked by me first. And also it is going to be looking at meeting the guidelines, which are essentially, given in the assignment brief. So some bits I normally go through like this I'm doing right now. And this bit would be to ensure accuracy and factual accuracy. And because it's an assignment at level 5, which is like a second year of your degree course, you are looking at, getting, although there are no marks here, but generally in universities, what you are going to see is that if you submit an assignment, 10% of your assignment marks could be on presentation in terms of how you presented, the assignment. So in some cases, those are the bits that you have to keep in mind and, I would say streamline so that it allows you to, secure those marks, although there are none which are going to be applicable here. But I would still suggest that, this is something as a exercise I would ask you to do, because this is just following some professional ethics to be able to submit, the assignment. So let's go ahead and look at this bit now. So what I've done is, one of the things that I'd ask you to do is normally in the footer or the header of your assignment, key in your name, which identifies the document that is your document. Insert the page numbers, which could be done in the footer section or the header section. And that basically gives it that it basically drives the ownership of the document. That is, this is your document. The other thing which I'm going to do is obviously put the name of the unit along with the code so that it becomes, clear that this is the unit for which I'm submitting the assignment. Now, there are some bits that I will go ahead and quickly format. This is what I was trying to finish before I wanted to, start the session. And as you would see that some parts of it, are essentially bits and pieces that I've compiled. And what I now need to do is go about just quickly formatting it. And then we'll go into the nitty-gritty of the discussion of the assignment. So just give me one more second before we get into that. Let me get this into some sort of an order. And this sample that I'm actually showing you will also then be available up on Moodle. And you would be able to look at, obviously going through this for the purposes of submitting and going through for reference purposes. So I've chosen Marriott International as an organization because in some cases, it is going to ask me to talk about a company or an organization that I need to take. And what I've done is I've chosen the Marriott International as an organization to follow it through as an example in certain tasks to be able to show that this is the bit that I'm going to be, this is the organization that I'm going to be looking at, from a point of view of discussing when I would, do the assignment tasks. So some bits I have just about more or less done. Just give me 1 more minute. One of the tasks in the assignment is going to ask us to discuss various digital media marketing roles that you could actually do within the organization. And what I've done is I have compiled a few roles which I think are going to be useful to cover this particular task. And those are the bits that I have actually covered here. So just about done. And you'd be probably looking at getting a few tips in terms of how I'm doing the formatting so that it becomes presentable and obviously the output becomes a bit of a professional output. Okay, so that is more or less done. One last bit, which I would probably just quickly go through and do is, I'm pretty sure that most of you know, but just about, creating a quick table of content so that I can, draw it up and using Word, I can draw it up. Okay. So now drawing up a quick table of contents, and what I would do is we'll get into the discussion of the assignment. So this gives us a very clear idea in terms of what you have produced as a work. And if I save this now as a draft, which I will share with you after this particular session. There we go. So let's discuss now some of the tasks which are given, to us in terms of doing the assignment as per the assignment brief. So if I look at, showing you the assignment brief for a second, just to, put this into a bit of perspective. So what you see is task 1 of the assignment brief is covering learning outcome 1. It says understand the principles of digital marketing management. And there are 2 assessment criteria in this. These are 2 bullet points which we will cover in the Word document, which has been asked to produce evidence for in 500 words. So let's look at task 1 first in terms of how we would go about covering it. So in task 1, the first task talks about describe the importance of digital media marketing management in any contemporary organization. So if I click on this, what I've done is I've looked at basically covering what is digital marketing first. So digital marketing is the usage of internet, which most organizations are doing today for emailing, sending out newsletters, or any sort of communication related to products and services that they sell. So in the case of hotels, it is going to be room bookings in any sort of facilities, any sort of additional extras which the hotel actually advertises as amenities that customers can avail of, things like, say, a water theme park, or for example, a 24-hour coffee shop or a swimming pool. And some of these are advertised on the company's website, or in this case, the hotel's website, using digital marketing. That means the internet allows the company to put up a website. The website basically has pictures, images, videos, and that is utilizing the digital content to be able to further provide that information onto customers. So using the internet, obviously the importance of digital marketing has grown because it brings in factors like cost efficiency, what customers are browsing on your site, what rooms are they booking. If they don't like it, they exit your website. You are able to gather analytics from it, and then you are able to also have global reach and audience with regards to selling your empty capacity of the rooms, assuming we are taking a hotel here. But it could be an airline, it could be any sort of a tour operator or a holiday package. But generally looking at this allows you to advertise your products and services through the internet globally. And then you are able to include offers, vouchers, videos, messaging, pictures, and that allows interaction and engagement to happen. Things like collection of data through forms, giving promotional offers or discounts, makes the content, which is being put across on the digital website as interactive and engaging. Now, adaptability tends to be wherein you are actually looking at, making changes to your digital site with regards to being adaptable and responsive on the tablet. If you open your site on your phone, or if it opens on a different operating system or browser, that means the way the site has been developed allows you to essentially ensure that it is accessible across different forms of digital media. And then your website is mostly integrated with most companies to some sort of a backend or a CRM system. And this site has lots of different types of certifications in place, things like secure, certification, or if the site allows transactions in the form of e-commerce, mobile access, all this can be done. And if the site also allows, for example, things like creation of accounts, so for sign up of newsletters, then this allows personalization to happen. So for example, if you're interested in only getting offers on the safari, which happened in Nigeria or in Kenya, then you can sign up to the company website. And if there are new offers or new packages which come out, then your sign up to the newsletter allows it to be personalized when communication is happening from the hotel or from the site to you. So digital marketing, is now becoming more or less, I would say, a very important aspect of companies and businesses who are looking at, reaching out to customers directly. So digital marketing has become indispensable, as I've called it. And the reason why I've called it indispensable is that no company which is selling to consumers or is having segmentation in targeting consumers directly would need to have a website, which basically could be a brochure website, as we say. That means it only provides information. And in most cases, websites tend to be interactive and also e-commerce led. And that would be discussing, this in the form of this particular task. Now, describe here means you cannot write bullet points. It has to be done in paragraphs. So description normally tends to be, when you see a command verb called describe, you're looking at basically, essentially writing about it in paragraphs because of the fact that If you use bullet points, that would be classified as explaining. But when it comes to describe, you have to give a very clear description and include all the relevant features. And this is, you can think of it as if you're trying to paint a picture with words. And that is why you have to use paragraphs to be able to complete this particular part of the task. Is that okay? Any questions on this task?
No.
Okay, let's go across to task 2, which talks about explain the role of marketing mix in digital context. Now, marketing mix would have been covered in the form of 4 P's of marketing, 7 P's of marketing, and today we also have 9 P's of marketing. But initially, when 4 P's of marketing were introduced by Jerome McCarthy in the 1960s, he basically came around with the concept of that if companies have to market products and services, they have to consider these 4 primary parameters of pricing, product, pricing, place, and promotion. And over the years, this has got expanded to 7 P's, which include packaging, physical evidence, and people, and even 9 P's. And that is where you have to discuss about the marketing mix. Now, marketing mix is required by any business to be able to, when they start to look at producing a product or come up with a concept or idea, they have to then look at these 4 parameters in terms of what product would be, the product that they've introduced, what will it be doing in terms of providing usages, and what features will it have, and how would that be useful to customers, where would it be sold, and what it would be priced with regards to the market and obviously competition. So here, what you will need to do is describe the role of marketing mix. And because it says explain, what you have to do is you have to set out in detail the meaning of marketing mix first. And that is why I've started with the definition of marketing mix. And then after that, what you have to do is give reasons. So you have to explain marketing mix first in at least the context of 4 P's, which is because we are discussing digital marketing. So it is understood that you're not going to be generically discussing the marketing mix, but you're going to be discussing it from a point of view of digital products or digital side of things. So that is where, the reference to products that can be sold on the internet would need to be made. So contextualizing some part of this that you're going to discuss in the 4 P's of marketing mix cover product, price, place, and promotion. So in price, we are going to be discussing things like dynamic pricing, very briefly, freemium models, and transparent comparison. The reason I'm looking at these is today, what happens is on the website, if you book a hotel using bookings.com, you're going to see that there are offers available on certain rooms. It says last 4 rooms available. And then after a couple of minutes, if you look at, you would see that, okay, the price for if 1 room is left or 2 rooms are left, the price of that product actually drops. This is something that we've also seen on tele-shopping channels. So as the product inventory keeps dropping, sometimes the price also gets reduced. So the pricing is dynamic depending on the demand from the customer in the market. Freemium models tend to be, you understand, I don't know whether it was discussed or not, but they tend to be when companies are looking at traction of their products and services in the market. What they will do is basically make available the basic features of the product free. And as customers get hooked onto those products, they will then start making available the premium side of features, and that would allow them to upgrade the existing customers by also realizing revenue. And this is normally seen in all the apps that we use today nowadays on the phone, on the tablet, and you generally see you can download an app for free. But there are certain, if you want to do away with the advertising or maybe look at some of the other features of the app, advanced features, then you have to upgrade or buy that upgrade on the app, and that is what is called in-app purchases. And they would be examples of premium models. So similarly, you have to cover price, place, promotion, and cover product. And once you've done this, do a brief mention of the other P's that I've mentioned, things like process, people, and physical evidence. And that, in a sense, would explain, the 4 P's of marketing. That is the role of marketing mix in digital context. And why we've discussed it in digital context is it is asking us to discuss in the form of digital context. And here, maybe towards the end, it would be good or a best practice to add an example of a product or a brand that you have used, or maybe a service that you have used, and related to that would be, like the icing on the cake. But explain would clearly mean you have to set out the meaning of the 4 P's of marketing mix in the digital context, cover the 4 P's with reasons, and then basically say how and why they are used in the tourism and travel and tourism industry. So here I would have wanted to, for example, when I look at bookings.com for booking and hotel room for vacation, the price and availability on the website varies during the course of the day that I am booking. There are offers and discounts available at different times, and this is to attract customers for booking while they are on the website. And then what I would do in this case is, if I go into my web browser and I go into bookings.com, in order to give it appeal in terms of let's say make it a bit more attractive in terms of my document, what I could do is basically go into the bookings.com website and choose a particular offer and show and take a screenshot of it and basically show how this would essentially be playing out on the site. So if you could see, it shows different hotels. If I go on to this one in particular, then take a screenshot of it, and that screenshot of it could basically provide prices or details that you are actually mentioning with regards to the let's say this particular example. So as you can see, there are prices available, and it says number of rooms in some cases, and what you could do is click on one of them and then obviously show that in this case it is showing breakfast included and things like that, and that would be a good option for you to make a point by looking at taking a screenshot and attaching it. So I would probably look at attaching this screenshot here, and that would help me. It says save 10%. So this is where I would probably look at creating an account, and it says you can get a 10% off. And in some cases, you could also say a screenshot of this. As you can see, this is showing products availability. Only 6 rooms are left, limited supply, as you can see. And then these are bits which are going to be useful to insert as examples onto your assignment to prove the point that you have looked at the digital marketing mix and as an example explain that in detail as well. So let me put a few of the shots in, and that would make that point which I'm trying to do. So let me just take you back. So as you can see, I've inserted a few screenshots here and under my example, what I was mentioning, and that clarifies what I've done. And this comprehensively covers explain. Is that okay? Now, we'll go into the second aspect of it. Now, this is where I would suggest that we break the document. So take it to page 2. And what I'm going to do is put task 2 here. And this would essentially then become the second task that I'm trying to address now. And it would be clearly visible on the table of content. So task 2, if I just shift you into the assignment brief again, just to give you a glimpse of. So when we look at task 2 covers learning outcome 2. It covers 4 assessment criteria, and there are 4 bullet points that we have to cover. So it says you need to identify a tourism and hospitality business. So you cannot do this task descriptively or generically. So here what you have to do is basically identify a business. That means a tourism and hospitality business. And what I've done is I've chosen Marriott International. I've done a bit of research on their website, a particular website, because Marriott International as a hotel chain has over 3,500 hotel properties across the globe. They are present in, I think, about 119 countries. They serve about 400 million tourists every year or customers every year. So choose an organization which has lots of data on the website, and that makes it easier for you to get that data to put in your assignment as evidence. So I've chosen Marriott International, and then I've gone ahead and done all of these tasks individually. This is asking us to write these tasks in about, say, 750 words. The first part talks about explain how digital marketing management is managed in the organization. So if I go into now the assignment brief and my Word document that I've created, and I have done these as 4 individual tasks. So first, I've chosen Marriott International. And when I've chosen Marriott International, what I've done after that is in Marriott International, I've just given a bit of an introduction. So they have 7,000 properties. Marriott International also owns a lot of brand of hotels. So they are either in co-branding or they are essentially in different, names. And when we look at that, they have total of 7,000 hotels spanning 131 countries, and they include 30 brands. Now, when we go into the first part, it talks about digital marketing management and how is it managed within the organization. So here, what I've done is I've chosen a couple of points which are related to the key concepts, theoretical concepts that if we go onto the Marriott hotel websites, what we generally get to see that their management of digital marketing content or digital marketing activities actually tends to happen, through these many different avenues. So they have a team in place which basically works with the regional teams and agencies. They have a centralized digital marketing team which works with different regional teams and agencies. They look at website and mobile phone management. They have their websites optimized, and they also advertise for pay-per-click advertising on Google and some of the other search engines like Bing and other sites. They have a content strategy in place, which is the Marriott Bonvoy Traveler, and that allows you to, it's like a point-based system. So the more you use the hotel, the more you stay in different properties, the more points you accumulate, and that allows you to get, free benefits from the Marriott hotel chain if you are utilizing their properties as you rack up these points. Then they also are present on social media. They have an email marketing campaign in place, which is what is used in the form of newsletters and promotional offers which are sent. And then they have data analytics on the site, because if you go and visit any Marriott hotel site, make sure that you're signed into your Google profile and you look at a couple of hotels, and in one of the websites of the hotel, if you go ahead and browse a couple of rooms and a couple of things, you're signed into your Google profile, you'll see a couple of hours down the line, there's an automated email which will come to you saying that you were browsing on our site, would you be interested in booking the hotel? These are the offers available. And that allows Marriott to capture, if you click yes to the cookie on the site, that this particular site collects data, and you even accept certain necessary cookies or necessary only information cookies, then that would allow Marriott to trace back who you are, where you have come from, if you're signed into your browser profile, on Google or Google Chrome, and that should allow them to send a newsletter or some sort of a link email to confirm that you were visited our site and, were you interested in any offers, should we ask somebody to get in touch and things like that. Training and development, and they have obviously crisis management. For example, if they get a negative PR on a social media, or if the website goes down or certain sections of the website are not working, then there's a crisis management team which basically works 24/7 to be able to ensure that their services are up and running. And that is what would be required to explain in the digital marketing management part of it for a particular organization, like I've chosen Marriott International. Is that okay? Any questions on this so far?
Yes.
Okay, now the next task is analyze. Analyze the importance of digital media marketing. So obviously what I've done is I've replaced in an organization with Marriott International, because I have chosen Marriott International as an organization to discuss this. So when we look at analyze, the analyze is a higher order verb, which basically means that we have to identify separate factors and say how they are related and how each of them contribute to the topic. So the topic is digital marketing. We have to analyze the factors which are going to be important for digital marketing to be done by Marriott International and how it contributes in helping to get more business for Marriott International. That is what the task is. So if you understand the meaning of the command verb, this would mean that you understand what the task is asking you to do. Analysis here means you need to identify what factors help Marriott International to do digital marketing and why it is important for the company to use it as a channel to increase business or get more customers. So I start off with a bit of introduction and then go into some of the important factors which are used for driving digital marketing. So driving direct bookings, that means they want to cut off intermediaries like tour operators or other sites, which would mean that there is more profit availability to the company available directly. So you have to think of some factors like these. There could be two, three, four factors, depending on what you can research from Marriott International's website. And what I thought was that these are the factors that I've uncovered, which is they give you discounts if you book the rooms directly with them. They do a lot of digital marketing by optimizing offers. And even when you're trying to leave the website or switch turn off from one page to the other, there are lots of offers which will come up, which will persuade you to book or sign up to a loyalty program with them. And then last but not the least, they also use wide scale imagery to be able to highlight the advantages of some of their properties. Things like they are based in the city center, they are very close to the airport, the room sizes are very big, or the amenities in the rooms are very luxurious, and that is to persuade the customers to basically look at booking Marriott for stay if they are choosing to go on vacation or for business or personal reasons. And that would cover this particular task. Then the third task is analyze the roles and responsibilities of digital marketers. Now, there are different types of people working within Marriott, and in terms of, they play different roles in terms of ensuring that, let's say different people working in different roles, which ensure that Marriott is able to get the volume of customers that it needs to be able to sell its properties in terms of let's say bookings. So when we look at that, we will go into some of the analysis of the roles. So this bit is an explanation which I've done, for the points that I've covered with regards to the role of digital marketing management within Marriott. And these are the various points that, have been made, which help in managing that bit of the digital marketing role. So when you cover some of these, you're looking at covering, that task. Now, roles, there are lots of roles, and you might need to do a bit of research on the internet to see what are digital marketing roles. There are lots and lots of different roles available in digital marketing. So somebody could be content creators, which are digital content creators. You could be just managing the content and creation. That means you write a copy for a particular page, you create a write-up for a blog, you create a write-up for a particular property or how it needs to be positioned. And that is all done by content creation and management people in digital marketing. Then you have people in search engine optimization, which will be optimizing the websites and their properties so that the visibility and search part of it is visible on the first page of Google. You have social media management, which is to look at managing different platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. And these are basically through short messages and videos that can be used to, attract customers or, sell out promotions for some of their properties. Then they also do advertising, which could be PPC, pay-per-click, or online advertising. They do email marketing. And there are people who are email marketers. There are people who are involved in the analytics or as business analysts, which would look into reporting, billing, transactional side of things, website traffic side of things, booking side of things to help management firm up reports for decision making. And then in general, there are web developers who keep the website updated. And these are all different roles which are involved in as digital marketers, if you think of a property or an organization which is in this particular field. Is that okay? The last task, 2.4, is asking us to create a plan. We cannot, create a plan. So here I would suggest that we do a table, and the creation of plan primarily is, on a particular, say, property. So I looked at digital, Marriott's luxury resort in Bali, and how would they look at actually promoting this resort by creating a digital media plan for them. And this digital media plan that I've created primarily, is looking at targeting people who want to come in, and which are either affluent travelers, honeymooners, or corporate retail guests, or people who basically, do events and conferences when companies basically take their staff and employees to different locations. So what I've done is I've created a plan, a detailed plan, which covers, most of the digital marketing tools that the company would be using to primarily promote and, advertise in order for them to be able to get bookings. So things which I've covered in the previous task. So this task has to be done covering the previous task, wherein whatever roles I've discussed, or, the ways through which actually the company looks at getting hold of its customers, those roles I've expanded into a table with a bit of a strategy and action, and a bit of an explanation how they would be using these sources to advertise and create a digital marketing strategy. So here you would have to use a bit of your creative side to think of how a company would look at using some of these social media platforms, online advertising, search engine optimization, to be able to create a plan. And that is what I would suggest you would need to, provide for this task. And this would help in completing task 2 of your assignment, which is all the 4 tasks given. Is that okay? So that bit would cover task, more or less your task 2. In task 3, we have to use the same organization that you've done. And on the assignment brief here, what the task is saying is use the same organization that you have selected in task 2. And then on using that same organization, we have to cover these 3 task assessment criteria, 3.1, 2, and 3, which have been given, and again in the form of a Word document. So here I would primarily label them as 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 by copying them as it is in the Word document. And then I would go about doing them one by one. And this is where what I have done for task 3. So first part talks about in-depth analysis of how digital marketing is technology is affecting the digital marketing of that organization. So I've taken on things like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, voice search optimization, and blockchain technology. So if you see some of the Marriott sites, they have the ability wherein you are able to see, if you want to see a presidential suite on Marriott, they have an option wherein, and that suite in some properties across New York, or if I go into Dubai or some of the other places, is $15,000 a day. Now, for you to before book that room, sometimes you might have a demand or a requirement that I want to see how does the room look like on the website. So they have created what is called a 3D layout of that room, and that presidential suite you can actually browse on the website by using the 3D or virtual reality layout. And that is the use of technology that they have done in order to promote and, obviously position the presidential suite in some of the websites that you look at. So things like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, voice search optimization, in certain rooms, in certain premium rooms in the hotel, there is integration of Alexa app, which allows you to use voice to be able to dim the lights of the room, switch off the lights, or switch on the TV or some of the other facilities in the room. And that shows the implementation of technology that they have used to increase or, effectively differentiate their product from their competitors' product. And that is something that they have shown, on the hotel website as well and some of the properties website. And that would cover task 1. The second part of your task essentially looks at asking you to discuss relationship between external and internal digital marketing. Now, some of you, I would suggest that when you had studied the learning outcome 3, you would have looked at that there are ways through which you can outsource digital marketing, things like search engine optimization, pay-per-click campaigns, social media marketing, and online advertising can be outsourced to an agency. And that would cover external digital marketing. Internal digital marketing would be things like, newsletters, emails, internal communications that are normally sent across when you are booked into a hotel through the TV screen, or for example, with employees using portals, and any sort of training events and seminars which are organized would consist of internal digital marketing. So here, what you would need to be looking at essentially is talk about how they are used and what is the relationship between the two of them. And as long as you are able to do so, that would help you cover task 3.2. So in that, I have taken things like feedback loop, employee advocacy, and consistency in terms of communication to be able to, the training part of it, which is done with the staff in the hotel. Every staff in the hotel treats, greets, talks about the hotel in a particular fashion or in a particular manner. And that is because there has been standardization training which has been done with all employees, whether it's at the front desk, whether it's at the back office, whether it's in the maintenance or, in the restaurant or any of the business center or any of the other site or properties or within the hotel. So you have to think about those points and then cover them up by looking at taking that example. The last part of the task talks about, regulatory frameworks. And what I've done is I've considered that for UK, which is things like Journal Data Protection Regulation, the Committee of Advertising Practice or the CAP code. And then these two are basically regulatory frameworks that marriates advertising and, their any sort of messaging that they do, they need to comply with in a particular country. It might be different in the US, it might be different in other countries. So, you would need to cover one or two. The third one that I can think of is advertising, ASA as we call it, advertising services agency. And that is an agency which sets out timelines, with regards to what your ads can say and talk about in regards to, the branding or the messaging that you send out, and that would help you to cover, this part. And this would then help you cover more or less, the task 3 and, the part with regards to tasks 1, 2, and 3. Now, the last task in the assignment is something which I have not done simply because I would want you to go in and do a bit of that at your end. And this is basically looking at selecting a destination, which is where you need to conduct a bit of market research. And once you've selected that destination and you've conducted a bit of market research, what you need to be then able to do is research that. So for example, if I look at a destination, that destination could be, say, Mauritius. And what I would do is then in that case, go about, doing a bit of research in terms of resorts in Mauritius, choose one, and then do these activities. What is the, importance of marketing mix or, the need for market research? And that is which I would use to essentially then do some of these tasks. Is that okay? Any questions?
No.
Right, okay. Any questions at your end, Nicole?
None.
All right, okay, that's fine. So I hope that gives you a very good idea in terms of how you would look at doing the assignment. And I will get this presentation and the Word document uploaded so that you are able to go ahead and obviously submit the assignment in one go. And we will be looking at, moving to the next unit for which you'll get the schedule later today or by tomorrow morning. And I'll get this assignment also uploaded, just as a example of what I've explained today, so that you can maybe reference this or use this to, look at completing something or drafting something at your end when you are looking at doing your assignment. So it will be useful from a point of view of, looking at as a sample. So if there are no more questions, I will bring this session to an end, and I'll be catching up with you in the next unit with regards to, progressing further on this course.